We defeated them in Iraq during the surge, and they've been rejuvenated, and they can only exist where they find safe haven. In other words, and most people don't want these thugs around because, most mothers want their children to grow up in a peaceful world. Most people want there to be fairness, but these guys aren't fair. I mean, they're brutal. And where there's safe haven, they thrive. And therefore, it's important to deny safe haven. Step 2 of the Bush Doctrine. If you harbor a terrorist, you're equally as guilty as the terrorist.
So that with President Bush, with Greta from just a few days ago, reflecting on his own policy in dealing with terrorists. President Obama ordering a top-to-bottom review of his policy on hostages overseas, but that review coming too late for the American aid worker Peter Kasich and his family. He's the 3rd American beheaded by ISIS terrorists in 3 months. Liz Cheney, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, Fox News contributor, live with us today out of Jackson, Wyoming. And Liz, welcome back here to America's Newsroom. They can only exist where they find safe haven. For now, ISIS has found safe haven, Liz.
Right, and safe haven is just about the most valuable thing that you can provide to a terrorist organization. It gives them territory, it gives them the ability to plan, it gives them the ability to have the security they need to train, to recruit, and it's not a static situation because the fact that ISIS has safe haven now and is able to conduct these horrific beheadings, is able to conduct the horrific attacks we're seeing across Iraq and Syria, is a huge recruiting tool for them and enables them to attract more adherents to their cause, to attract more fighters, to become a greater threat every day that we let that safe haven go unanswered.
I think the families of these murdered Americans have been so brave. And I think Peter's family yet again showed that yesterday. Here's a man from Indiana, the middle of America, and here is his mother reflecting on her son's life just yesterday afternoon.
Peter's life is evidence that he has been right all along. One person makes a difference. Our hearts are battered, but they will mend. The world is broken, but it will be healed in the end. And good will prevail, as the one God of many names will prevail.
So much strength and courage. 3 Americans beheaded in 3 months. Who's fighting for us? I can remember a time when a U.S. Marine was killed in a bar in Berlin and we bombed another country because of it. That was Ronald Reagan in 1986. Who's standing up for us on this?
Right. Well, first of all, obviously our hearts go out to the families and the Kasich family yesterday. My goodness, I mean, the courage and the pure grace. I mean, that really was grace that we were all watching and is something that no parent can even begin to imagine. And it tells you the horror of the enemy that we face. But you're exactly right, Bill. I mean, these news reports that the president is going to be reviewing his hostage policy. The way to prevent what's happening to these Americans is to kill the ISIS terrorists. The way to prevent what's happening is to defeat ISIS. And right now, we've got this situation where if we're going to prevail, we're going to have to do more than the airstrikes that we're currently doing, and we're going to have to get the Sunni tribes into the fight. The way that we did that with the surge was we had boots on the ground, and we were able to say to those Sunni tribal leaders, look, we're here, we're fighting with you, we'll stand with you, and they joined the fight. What's happening now, we know from recent news reports, is you've got ISIS terrorists going into towns, and they've got lists of the people that fought with us. And they go in and they target those people. They take, they target their families. They kill them if they can't find them. They burn down their houses. They're going after the people who stood with us, and we're nowhere to be found. And it is simply impossible for us to imagine that we're going to be able to prevail if we continue this policy that the president has adopted, which is, it can't even be called an air campaign, frankly, because the strikes are so limited. We've got to act as though victory, frankly, is the only alternative here, and we've got to get into this fight in a way that prevents ISIS from being able to continue to terrorize people, both Iraqis, Syrians, and Americans.
Liz Cheney, thank you. There is another American being held. She's a woman. She's age 26, and we're waiting for news on her, and hopefully the news is good. There was a quote that said no one's really in charge on behalf of one of the family members when they went looking for answers from the administration. They could get very few, so perhaps this review will help some of these families during an extreme time of grief. Liz Cheney, thank you, in Wyoming today.